Welcome to the GreenUp Academy podcast with Alex Kirby, where we focus on helping you level up your green industry business. Whether it's marketing, finance, employees, or strategy, we talk about everything on this show to help you apply it to your business and change your family and company's future for decades to come. Here's your host, Alex Kirby.
What's going on, everybody? This is the GreenUp podcast, and we are videoing this and talking. So, Eric, I apologize if I look over here. I'm trying not to look at the cameras, but exciting, man. Excited to be here in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Yep.
Let me hear that woo pig.
Woo pig.
No, dude. You got to give me the real thing. I'm not going to get it. We didn't play you guys this year in football, us Gamecocks, but you know what? You need to come down when you guys play at us. That'd be tight. I went to an Arkansas-Carolina game one time.
Yeah, you probably lost.
I think you did. No, you might have beat us that time. But anyways, for everybody watching, listening, this is Eric Hill. He owns Fay-Ark Lawn Co.
Yep.
Make sure I get that right.
Yep.
I always want to say lawn and landscape for some reason.
Nope.
But we flew in to hang out with Eric. Eric's been a buddy of mine for like 3 years now, probably. I think we were 19 when we first started talking. Yep. And Eric's killing it. Eric's got a multi-million-dollar lawn and landscape business. They are doing, mowing, commercial, a little bit of residential, mostly a landscape hardscape company, transforming themselves, a little bit of snow removal. 3 events. Yeah. I told you the story one time we had in South Carolina. We had one, and I couldn't get anybody to come because there was like this. All my employees were like, "It's dangerous," and it was like we had half an inch. Yeah. And it was like 2 years ago, and me and my manager and 6 guys, I had to pay them like double. I'll pay you double. We did like $25,000 in 48 hours, and all we did was start salt. And I didn't have any salters. I had to like throw it by hand, like I'm shelling corn to chicken. It was pretty hilarious, but
big money though.
Big money, $25,000 in a weekend is pretty strong. Yeah. But Eric, you've done really well, and you're going to be a part of our academy, GreenUp Academy, that we're working on, and it's going to be coming out in January. I think some of these episodes should be coming out before then. Talk a little bit about, people will hear your story and your mini course that's going on and everything, but one thing I think is important, you and I are both people of faith, and I was talking to a guy the other day. I didn't even tell you this yet. I got an email from this guy, and I was telling him how I wasn't doing the Down to Business podcast anymore. I was transitioning it to 2 podcasts. I'm going to have my own show in the springtime for talking business, life, family, political, all just a normal show. Yep. But then I wanted to have a green industry. And this guy messaged me. He heard me say that on the podcast. And he wrote me a 4-paragraph, please don't get rid of it. He didn't know I was doing the second show. Mm-hmm. But he was saying, man, it is so encouraging to hear people who are not that old talk about their faith. Mm-hmm. And he was saying how he appreciated me talking about it. But one thing I appreciate about you, and that's why I said all this, is you talk about your faith. And I think one of the hardest things that I talk to people all the time, you do too, within the industry, one of the hardest things is faith, family, balance with business. How do you input your faith in your business? How do you maintain a healthy lifestyle for your family? Because we're in business to be with our family. We're not in business to get a yacht like Jeff Bezos and hang out by ourselves. We do this because we want to provide for other people's families and for our own. So I kind of just want to have that discussion. You're 22. You got married young. You have a kid. You already have another one on the way. Congrats, by the way.
Yep.
So tell me how you do that at 22. Have you done well so far? Have you not? Let's just have honesty hour here.
Yeah. So, up front, starting your business is going to be the hardest point, especially if you have a wife and kids. And I didn't really realize that until I had it, because you're going to be working 80 to 100 hours a week to get it off the ground. And luckily, I did that in high school. Madison still felt that because I wasn't hanging out with her as much when she was in college.
High school.
I was working.
She older than you?
Yeah. A year. Yeah. Yeah.
Level up.
Yeah. So I wasn't hanging out with her as much and I was working. It's kind of what I was used to. Sure. And she went through it. She obviously kind of knew that this is what I wanted to do. I don't think she knew what the end goal would be or what it is now. And she's very thankful now that I did basically the suck or just the startup.
Yeah.
Then, because it would be a lot harder now being gone from her and Brooks and just the time, just because life's short.
Sure.
Like, time flies by and
does.
you want to be there. But I mean, the biggest thing now is like just, I mean, honestly, up until 3 months ago, I sucked at it. Like, we had a miscarriage 3 months ago. And, like, that kind of really, like, it's just an eye opener. It's like,
we had them as well.
Everything's going great with the business, and like we weren't relying on God, and we weren't until like that point. And like since then, things have changed a ton, and our hearts it is God's plan and nothing else. And that's why, like, honestly, every projection we've ever had in business, we've hit and beyond hit, because it's not up to me.
Amen.
I can plan all I want, but at the end of the day, it's up to God.
Amen to that.
Man,
keep going.
So, I mean, just with that, like, you're in business to be with your family, but at the same time, you have to be in business to provide for your family.
That's great.
So it's difficult, and it's a give and take. Like, there's, like I tell Madison, there's some days that I might have to be on the phone and talking to people late at night to plan the next day or if something happened. But I can also be home at 3 o'clock or take off Friday or just get home early to be with them. So it is a give and take, and it's flexible, but there's also times you have to be a business owner when it's technically family time.
I think it's, man, by the way, I don't know if you knew this. We had a miscarriage too. I did not know that. I don't think you told me that. We had a miscarriage after we had one child and we had a miscarriage. We were actually on a family trip when it happened, and it was terrible. And I looked at my wife in the eyes, and I remember I was in a hotel room with her, and I said, I don't know what this means, but all we can do is trust God. And we got pregnant with our son, my first son, Callaway, 8 weeks later, which is not really supposed to. You kind of had the same thing. It's not really supposed to happen.
10 or 11 weeks. So
the chances of it are really low.
Yep.
So God always has his hand on us. I feel that 100%. So you said something interesting about the balance part of it. You were like, some days. Oh, sorry.
I don't think there's a balance.
There's no such thing as balance.
There is incorporating.
You're juggling.
It's incorporating the two. Like, you have to have, if your family's not on the same page of what your goal with your business is, there's going to be a disconnect. And
let's talk about that. So that was the other thing I said. You when did you and Madison? So my wife Faith, I'll say this and then ask you. Did the same thing. We were married a year and a half when I started Trifecta, which I just recently sold. And we had like a sit-down meeting when we decided to quit my church job and go full-time or try to start it. And she and I have always done pretty good at having that, like, let's get on the same page here. And it grew so fast that we had to do it often because, like, things change, right? Yeah. And luckily for us, we didn't have kids when it blew up. So we had our daughter in 19 when I got to $1 million in revenue in year 3. And so, but thankfully I kind of got it rolling and did all the suck stuff the first 2 years. I mean, working 80, 90 hours a week. I never got 100, I don't think. But, so tell me, like, because I think there's a lot of guys or girls listening who don't know how to bring their spouse or, onto the page. Because if they're not involved in the business, sometimes it's like they don't know what I'm dealing with. I don't want to bring them in too much. How do you and I'll tell how me and Faith did. How did you and Madison, y'all have monthly, like, business meetings where you guys get on the same page? She doesn't work in the business. No. How do you guys stay on the same page communication wise?
It's a constant communication, and it's something I struggle at because there's so much going on day to day. It feels like I talk about this one thing going on.
You had 20 calls in the truck in like 2 hours maybe. Yeah. It's crazy.
And so if I've been talking all day, sometimes I struggle to, like, kind of just keep her up to date, but I feel like I've gotten better at it. But it's just communicating, like, hey, here's kind of, like, what we're doing. Like, here's what's going on. Like, just talking about the people in the business, talking about, like, the vision for, like, the next year, 3 years, 5 years. Yeah. So it's just constantly communicating, and I think more communication is never bad.
I totally agree. Over communicating is not. There's no such thing as over communicating. I always say that. My wife and I do something cool that a listener can maybe get some from. Is we try every Sunday night. to have like a recap meeting for what happened last week, what we liked, didn't like, that went well, and then what we got coming up. And usually we have like a kind of a quarterly long discussion on the business side. My wife has been awesome. My parents owned a business. I don't know if you know this. Did you know my parents owned a business? Automotives for 35 years. And I learned a lot about what to do and what not to do from their experiment of that, because they both worked in it like every day.
Yeah, my parents do the same thing.
Same thing.
Yep.
And so me and my wife kind of decided we would never be in business together just because of some reasons. And so my wife is awesome because she doesn't really ask me anything in detail, because I'm talked out at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like, but if there's we have like kind of a rule without speaking, as like if it's something big, if it's a big decision, big financial decision, or could be a big decision like strategically, like it has to be talked about. So that's something for maybe someone listening, is if it feels big, talk about it. I think the worst thing I've heard guys do is like they don't say anything, whether they get in bad financial situation and then their spouse had no idea and they thought they were like balling on a budget type thing.
Yeah.
And then freaking stuff just hits the floor. So I'm sure you and Madison probably have similar conversations.
And she can tell when things aren't going right, because sometimes I'm worn out, I'm stressed out, and don't want to talk about it. But you need to be open, and that's something I don't do perfect at all. Is just talking about like, hey, this is going on. Sometimes I'll just get quiet, but no matter what's going on, you need to talk about it.
What's date night look like for you guys? Do you guys have a date night, or we monthly, long thing?
Yeah, we try and do.
It's hard.
Try and do at least monthly, if not more. But right now, with just
life
with Brooks and everything going on, especially in holiday season coming up, it's hard for us to just get away. So it's a work in progress, but we do good. Normally going on 2 trips a year, just at least for a long weekend. Just getting refocused on us, because marriage is first before our children at the end of the day.
Absolutely. It's an interesting point. A lot of people don't believe that. It's if your marriage isn't healthy, the kids would never be.
No. And the kids can sense when it's not.
I agree with that. I encourage you to try to do like every other Wednesday. My wife and I's is kind of inconsistent on the day, but it's twice a month at least. But it's insanely important for us to at least 2 times a month. Okay, so talk about with your faith. With God and your relationship with God. I was faith's been important to me for 12 years now. For you, how long have you been following Jesus since you were a little boy, right?
Been in church my whole life. I got saved when I was 12, and I think got baptized when I was 13.
Okay, so 8-9 years now.
Yeah.
So what do you think the hardest part? Because I'm gonna be now my turn, honesty hour. The last 6 to 12 months of my business, before I sold it in August. It got really easy to ask God's blessing after I made a decision rather than for his guidance before I made it. Like you said, the miscarriage did that for you. It kind of jolted you back to reality of what's the most important. I easily did that. Like things were going so well. That was just like, all right, God, I was telling him what I was doing rather than asking what I should do.
Yep.
And I think that's super key for anyone listening to that, is making sure that you're asking God's guidance, not his permission. Because we don't tell God what to do. But I just realized that like 6 months ago. And so kind of tell me, what does that look like in your business? For you, what does putting God in at the front of your business look like on a daily day, thought to thought, anything that you can think of? What does that look like practically?
So our 4 core values is take ownership, love others, be positive, and always be growing. So the love others it's servant leadership at the core of it, is just serving with an open heart. And yes, some things in business suck and things happen and you get frustrated, but like it's just the people, like loving the people, even though like if you don't agree with them or whatever, like it's loving that person as Jesus would, and just being positive, having a positive outlook on the day, because not everyone that works for me I don't think believes. Which I mean,
it's okay.
Yeah, if they do eventually, great, and if not, I just need to be the best representation of Jesus as I can each and every day for people that work for us, or the customers that we serve. So it's mainly just that servant leadership mindset.
That's awesome. it's not uncommon for people to know this, but we had a speaker come in every month that was always Christian based. We had biscuits for guys, and that seemed to do some cool stuff. But the biggest one I had was I tried to make myself available. We prayed every Monday morning with the team, and whatever that does. But the biggest thing I saw that helped was my availability for conversation. So I would tell guys, hey, if you're struggling, I think I said a phrase. I can't remember how I said it. It was like pains, heartaches, or problems. Then why don't you just text me, hey, can I get 15 minutes after work today? And I would just sit there and we'd talk, and I'd try to encourage them and tell them how I could pray, ask how I could pray for them. Mm-hmm. Just being available. So anyone listening, watching, I think being available is key. Because owners, there's a stigma, right?
Yeah, you're the boss.
Yep. That you're the boss. Yeah, you're too busy. You're too cool. Yeah. You drive too nice of a truck, whatever it is.
Yeah.
By the way, Eric about killed me today in the truck. Never knew I could go 95 miles an hour and 60, but I did today. You're right though. That truck, there's no, smooth. You would never know. Yeah. But it's not a Ram, but hey, it'll work. Yeah. But yeah, those were the best conversations I ever had with guys about their faith, about their life, about lack of faith, whatever. And so I just want to encourage people who are Christians. I had a guy write in the other day that made me think about this. And be bold in your faith. Don't shove it down anyone's throat, but put it out there. And if you have a lot of employees, I keep getting this message. We probably don't have enough at the under 20, but there was this company that would reach out to me called Corporate Chaplains of America, and 30 employees plus, they would come and be with the guys 2 mornings a week, and from 7 to 7:30, and they would just be there on standby as almost like mentor counselors. It's really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. So they'll show up and hey man, how you doing? Can I pray for you? You need anything? And they were just kind of there, and I always thought that was really cool. So we'll get into that in another episode on how to do ministry in your business, but I just want to talk a little bit about faith and family and how they kind of mix in our businesses, because at the end of the day, without God and without family, we shouldn't be in business. If we're not doing it for Him, we're not doing it for our family, what are we doing? It's to buy a nicer truck, nicer boat, who freaking cares? Yeah. So anyways, Eric, appreciate you being on this episode. We're going to try to keep it tangible so people can listen to it and not make it 13 hours. Everybody, this is GreenUp Podcast. Alex Kirby, Eric Hill. We'll see you next time. Make sure you go and subscribe, leave us a review if you can, and you keep leveling up out there. We'll see you next time.